So I recently did a first impression of Dragon Age Origins, and while I enjoyed the first 15 hours of the game, I didn't really think it was a put in over 100 hours type of good. Yet, here we are. Origins is the first installment in the Dragon Age series, and in this video, I want to give an answer to a couple of questions that people who are interested in trying this out might ask, especially with Dragon Age the Veilguard looming on the horizon. Is Origins still worth it? Should you play it before Veilguard? Does it hold up in the modern day? And how is this first game compared to the rest of the series? For the longest time, I've been wondering if this is really as good as people remember it. So without further ado, let's dive into Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins revolves around two main factions. One is the Grey Wardens, a legendary order of heroes who relinquish titles, land, and name in order to do battle against the Darkspawn. Evil, demon-like creatures living underground who, occasionally, every few hundred years or so, will emerge to the surface and bring destruction to the continent of Thedas in a catastrophic event known as Blights. These Blights are basically extinction-level events and, many times in history, have brought nations and kingdoms to their knees if not for the sacrifice of Grey Wardens who have successfully repelled 4 Blights at the cost of their own lives. However, since the last Blight was 400 years ago, the Grey Wardens have gradually lost influence and became forgotten, and as the current Grey Wardens' warnings are ignored, the 5th Blight rumbles in the southern region of the nation of Ferelden. Upon creating your character, aside from the usual character creation stuff, you will be given a choice for your character's origins, and which origins are available depends on your race, class, and personal choice. There's not really a lot to say in terms of character creation since it is pretty limited being an old game and all, but it's quite fun to see the different origin stories of how your character ended up being a Warden recruit. And it's also a good reason for multiple playthroughs as your origin will directly affect which choices or storylines are going to be available to you later on in the game. Now let's talk about combat, as not only are you going to be spending the majority of your time doing it, but it's also the biggest flaw of the game in my opinion. Here's how I would describe it. Origins has a tactical, real-time combat system with a pause mechanic that feels to me like a 15 years aged Baldur's Gate 3. Hear me out. In the early parts of the game, the combat felt slow. There wasn't much strategy to start with, and there wasn't a lot of reason to use the pause mechanic, at least until you get more companions and the difficulty starts to ramp up. As you continue playing the game and you acquire more abilities in addition to enemies becoming tougher attacking in larger numbers, Origins combat really starts to click. Since you can't really brute force encounters with mechanical skill, you start using the pause mechanic a lot, turning the game into a hybrid of turn-based while still being in real time whenever you unpause. When you're fighting a horde of enemies, especially on harder difficulties, every hit starts to matter, so you really have to think not only about the abilities that you and your party members are using, but things like positioning on the map, whether or not your tank, support, or DPS are successfully doing their job, and sometimes you have to make use of your environment as well to ensure success on harder encounters. This is combined with what felt like a billion abilities, giving you the widest option in the series for character builds and the freedom to do it for every companion. Just for example, my Morrigan is like a Witch of Death and Disease, able to unleash debuffs, sleeps, and mayhem spells to cause confusion in the middle of large battles. But later on, when I started to get comfortable with playing around, I spec'd her into a shapeshifter, giving her abilities like this. And then there's also specializations. 4 for each of the rogue, warrior, and mage class, giving you and your companions a really good variety of things to mess around with. So if that's combat, why did I call it its biggest flaw? Simply, I got tired of it about halfway through the game. At this point, I've played around with all sorts of combinations, playstyles, and all that stuff, and I just got really tired of being hampered down in every single hallway with a 5 to 10 minute encounter, or the potential to set you back even longer if you died because the game decides, you know what's fun? 100 werewolves as soon as you enter a room, or 50 archers pointing straight at the door because why not? What broke the camel's back, however, was when I was fighting a dragon on top of a mountain. And I was just doing the same rotation over and over again until it was dead. I figured out the strategy and it was only a matter of time until it was dead, but then I had that moment. Why am I doing this? Now, I understand that people love Origins combat. There's diehard fans out there that swear Origins has one of the best combat systems in the RPG genre, and there's nothing wrong with that. I can see it. But you also can't deny that there's a reason why BioWare moved away from this. Baldur's Gate 3 has a strategy-based combat system as well, but it has that modern twist. Every encounter can be different. It feels like a puzzle that you figure out how to beat instead of a puzzle that you figured out long ago, but have to keep repeating for the next 50 hours of gameplay. If you feel the same way throughout your playthrough, I recommend lowering the difficulty to normal or even casual because frankly, story is Origin's best feature. And when I stopped dreading the exploration of another hallway for fear of being stuck in a 15-minute encounter with 20 deep stalkers, when I just had that exact same experience 30 seconds before, the game became fun again. Before moving forward, I'd like to first thank the sponsor of this video, Gamivo.com. Gamivo is an online platform for gamers where you can get your favorite games, including recently released ones like Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, or the whole Dragon Age series at the best prices. They've got a huge selection of games for all the major platforms, and not only that, but they've kindly prepared a 5% discount code for the viewers of the channel. That's right, if you head to the link down below in the pinned comment or the description of this video, it'll direct you straight to their website. Pick any game you want, and on the checkout page, make sure to type in code KAGANATH to take advantage of the 5% off. In addition, if you want to have exclusive daily or monthly discounts and VIP access to a 24/7 live chat with their support team, go ahead and sign up for Gamivo Smart. It comes with everything I mentioned, plus pre-order priority and a free customer protection program. All of that for only $1.08 a month. They're also verified in Trustpilot, having amazing reviews, so you know that your purchases are protected. So if you want to get your favorite games at discounted prices and support this channel at the same time, head on over there with the link down below and make sure not to miss out on the 5% discount with code KAGANATH. Let's get back to the video. Now let's move on to content and exploration. Content-wise, Dragon Age Origins has done a great job filling its world with meaningful things to do. While it may not be open world like Dragon Age Inquisition, it feels like the polar opposite in terms of being lived in. Inquisition is a big world full of bloat and forgettable content, while Origins is filled with small areas that are incredibly memorable and interesting. The side quest that you will encounter tells you a lot of story about the area that you're in, and completing them made me feel like I'm actually making a huge impact in the lives of the people living in this world. Doing side quests and taking my time to talk to each NPC feels worth it, because instead of feeling like I'm working on a checklist, the writing is good enough to make me attached to these random characters in the world, compelling me to see their small stories through. For some characters, you can even see what happened to them post-quest when you visit them in their new area, which felt fulfilling. This makes checking every nook and cranny fun as well, because you never know what you might find behind a locked door. And those were just the side content. The actual main story of Origins holds up even today, and it's not even a question. When you hear Dragon Age fans call Origins a masterpiece, they're not kidding. The overall story arc that you go through in the game is one of the best in the RPG genre, and combining that with a variety of choices that actually change things in the story gives this game a lot of replay value. But the main thing that I would put above all others is the characters. In my opinion, Dragon Age Origins has one of the best cast of companions in any game period. The personal stories, the development, the funny banter, all of it is chef's kiss.
Are you sure you're not a baker? 'Cause you got a sodding nice set of buns.
It's hard not to spoil anything, so you're just gonna have to see how the stories unfold for yourselves. Dragon Age Origins is filled with epic moments, unexpected twists and turns, hilarious dialogue, and sometimes very dark themes, which we don't see a lot of anymore in the modern gaming scene. And if that's somehow still not enough, the DLCs are very good as well, each adding about 1 to 2 hours of content and good story, with the Awakening DLC even giving you a small campaign worthy of its own video. Now before we finish up this review, there are some cons to this game that needs to be mentioned, and that is the fact that the vanilla version of Dragon Age Origins is filled with bugs and crashes. There's a memory leak in the game that worsens performance the longer you play, that will eventually make the game just give up on working, so to remedy this, the community highly recommends you to download a memory leak patch, which I'll link down below, as well as a bug fix mod that will fix the most common ones for your maximum enjoyment, also linked down below. But despite these two patches, I still had to close and reopen the game every 2 to 4 hours just to reset, because if I don't, the game's FPS just suffers. And it shouldn't do that, that's entirely on the devs. So to answer your questions, yes, Origins is still worth it today and it still holds up. Should you play it before Veilguard? Honestly, I don't think it's required, but it's gonna add a lot to your enjoyment. Dragon Age Inquisition, the third installment in the game, is a lot more important to Veilguard in terms of story. How good is this game compared to the rest of the series? I've played Inquisition. We're gonna try out Dragon Age 2 next, but so far, I'm inclined to believe that this is the best out of the three. But we'll see in the next video. If you want to see the first 15 hours of my journey in Origins, click here. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more, and also thank you to our Patreon supporters for supporting the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.